Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. In comics, we're primarily familiar with heroes emerging victorious in their battles to save the world. Despite all odds, good always triumphs over evil. Talking about the Marvel Universe, we've witnessed Thanos winning against the Earth's mightiest heroes and decimating 50% of all living population. But that too was reversed by the Avengers, establishing an excellent end to the Thanos crisis. However, there were many instances where the heroes were defeated by villains or corrupted to become their evil counterparts. The What If series gave us a glimpse of alternate and unfortunate realities of the multiverse, but the comics gave us the grimmest reality in the Marvelverse, which was that of Earth 807128. In this reality, the heroes of Earth were defeated by a well-coordinated and planned attack by the villains. Earth 807128 was first introduced in Mark Millar's Wolverine Volume 3, Issue 66, published on June 18, 2008. Although the story revolved around Wolverine and his struggles against a deranged Hulk and his offspring, one character made a deep mark on its readers: Old Man Hawkeye. Owing to growing popularity, a comic series with 12 issues were dedicated to Old Man Hawkeye, which showcased Hawkeye's adventures after the death of all heroes and before he met Wolverine. So, hold your horses, as in today's video, we'll be unfolding the story of Old Man Hawkeye in chronological order. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Old Man Hawkeye was first introduced in Mark Millar's Old Man Logan arc, where we also got the first glimpse of Earth 807128. But we'll get to that later, as after the release of the Old Man Hawkeye comic series, his origin story traces back to 5 years before Hawkeye's journey with Logan. Written by Ethan Sachs, the series contained 12 issues and was published in 2018. Earth 807128 is the reality of misfortunes, as all the superheroes are dead. The supervillains had united, and after an organized attack, they managed to defeat and kill most of the powerful superheroes, leaving the rest to live in fear or despair. After defeating the heroes, the villains renamed America as America. They divided it into territories, which were the Hulk Land, the Kingdom of the Kingpin, Doom's Lair, and the President or the Red Skull's Quarter. The story begins with the old ex-Avenger Hawkeye escorting an important shipment for Jebediah Hammer. The shipment contained mutant growth hormones, and Hawkeye was hired to protect the shipment and Hammer while they traveled through the land of bandits, South Dakota. Hammer's repeated harsh words to Hawkeye were soon interrupted when the Madrox gang attacked them. With the help of a rocket launcher, the gang managed to knock down the shipment, and when Hawkeye and Hammer stepped out of it, they found themselves surrounded by all the gang members. While the gang members ordered them to hand over the mutant growth hormone, Hawkeye went behind the shipment and managed to get his bow and arrow. In the next second, there were 3 arrows piercing through the head and faces of 3 bandits. 3 more arrows followed, taking down 3 more bandits. Soon, no other bandits were left alive except for one who made a run for his life. Hawkeye took his last shot, but this time, and for the first time, Hawkeye missed. He soon visits Dr. Claire Temple at her clinic in Electroville, who informs him that his glaucoma is spreading fast and he'll soon lose sight. It's been 45 years since the heroes had fallen, and Hawkeye has been looking forward to that day when he'll avenge his deceased friends. He visited Logan in California with a PlayStation for his kids and asked Logan to join him in his quest to attain justice for the death of their friends. Still, Logan denied it, stating that he could not get his friends back and the only thing that mattered to him was his family. Failing to convince Logan, Hawkeye decided to fight his battle alone. He visited Peter Parker's daughter, his third ex-wife Tonya Barton, and his daughter Ashley Barton, and finally left. Meanwhile, the escaped Madrox gang member had been walking for 10 miles and desperately searched for water. He found a pool and dashed toward it, drinking profusely, but unfortunately, this was no water, but the Venom symbiote, which soon made him its new host. Back at the spot where Hawkeye had killed the bandits, we get to see an old and cybernetically enhanced Marshall Lester, aka the Bullseye. After observing the nature of the deaths by arrows, he realized that Hawkeye was behind this, and so began his pursuit of the ex-Avenger. He arrived at the Hammer homestead in Des Moines and demanded answers from Jebediah about Hawkeye's location. Jebediah lied initially, following which Bullseye, with the help of his razor-sharp playing card, cut Jebediah's throat. Bullseye had already killed Hammer's 2 sons, and in his last moments, Jebediah wrote the words, "Hammer falls," with his blood on the table, and died an excruciating death. Meanwhile, Old Man Hawkeye arrived at the Orb's nightclub, Eye Candy, outside Hammer Falls. When Orb's henchmen tried stopping him, he killed every one of them ruthlessly before reaching the Orb. Hawkeye demanded Orb to use the Watcher's Eye to tell him the location of the Thunderbolts. Orb stated that the Watcher's Eye could only spot world-changing events, but also informed him of the location of one of them, Atlas, working at the carnival named Arcade's joint. Bullseye arrived at Hammer Falls and tracked down Hawkeye's daughter, Ashley Barton. He questioned Ashley about her father, but she revealed her hatred towards Hawkeye and mentioned that she lacked any information about him. Bullseye's scanning enhancement suggested that Ashley wasn't lying, so he left. It was revealed that Bullseye served as one of Red Skull's assassins, and he had managed to kill the Orb and extract the Watcher's Eye from his stomach. Jebediah's wife, Suzanne Hammer, buried her dead husband and sobbed before the man possessed by the Venom symbiote arrived. It seemed that the Venom symbiote took over more members of the Madrox gang, and they were all for obtaining information about Hawkeye. Meanwhile, Hawkeye reached Arcade's underworld searching for Eric Justin, aka the Atlas. Although the amusement park appeared grand upon entering, he found the air grim around him. A few teenage kids were bullying another kid wearing the Captain America costume, and after beating him up, they left. Upon reaching the arena, he's greeted by a man who asks him for tickets for the last show of the evening. Hawkeye dodged the invitation and entered the dressing room to find Atlas. They talked about their past ventures, and when Atlas asked Hawkeye if it arrived at his doorstep to kill him, he said yes. Going by their arguments, it seemed Hawkeye was avenging some betrayal from the Thunderbolts. Atlas sulked and stated that the rest of the Thunderbolts never betrayed with glee and were all trying their best to forget the events. He added that the Avengers and other superheroes considered Atlas a criminal, and there was possibly no way to deny alliance with the villains. However, all these discussions made no changes to Hawkeye's plans, and soon began the fight between Atlas and Hawkeye. Atlas grew gigantic while Hawkeye began shooting his arrows. Atlas soon realized that Hawkeye had been missing his shots, and he knocked Hawkeye over. When he tried grabbing him with his humongous palm, Hawkeye stabbed one of his arrows into his fingers. Atlas pulled back, and Hawkeye shot one of his arrows containing a gas which suffocated Atlas and made him fall over. Hawkeye then climbed over to his head and shot his arrows into Atlas's eye, killing him. As the lifeless body of Atlas remained, Hawkeye could be seen shedding a tear. Following Atlas's information about the remaining Thunderbolts, Hawkeye's next target was Abner Jenkins, aka the Beetle, aka Mach 1. Abner Jenkins, too, had a miserable life. He's been working relentlessly at the Dombot factory in Cree Haven and sulking at his actions towards the Avengers and Hawkeye. He's been writing letters to his lover Melissa Gold, but never managed to post them. Things were mundane and depressing for him until Hawkeye arrived. Bullseye had also arrived at the location following the trails of murders left by Hawkeye. Still, when he aimed to take down the ex-Avenger, the grandchildren of Kraven the Hunter, aka the Killer Kravenovs, arrived and began fighting Bullseye. Since Bullseye had been discarding Red Skull's orders, a bounty had been placed on his head by Red Skull. Parallelly, Abner Jenkins accepted Hawkeye's offer to fight and suited up in his Beetle costume. He did not suit up Mach 1, stating that he could not possibly wear it after his act of betrayal in the uniform. Just like the rest of the Thunderbolts, he too had a reason for betraying the heroes, to save his love, Melissa Gold. The two began fighting, and after exchanging a few blows, Hawkeye grabbed Beetle, stabbed one of his arrows through his neck, and killed him. Bullseye managed to take down the Killer Kravenovs, but missed Hawkeye as by then he'd killed Abner and left. Hawkeye had taken Abner's last letter for Melissa, and as he read it in Joss's bar on the outskirts of Paste Pot Creeks, he ordered a stronger drink to get over the misery. Meanwhile, the crew of Venom-infected members reached Arcade's murder world and possessed the old blind lady. Inside Joe's bar, owner Turk Barrett served Hawkeye his drink, while Turk's nephew Dwight Barrett is seen playing with the Ant-Man helmet that had been gifted to him. Soon, the Venom-infected individuals arrived and began ransacking the place and attacking Hawkeye. While Hawkeye shot his arrows, Turk brought his shotgun. All efforts of the two grown men went in vain, while young Dwight struggled to emit a frequency from the helmet to neutralize the Venom-infected members. Dwight finally managed, but not before Turk got killed. Neutralizing the Venom symbiote, Dwight escaped with Hawkeye. They traveled deep into the wastelands and finally took refuge at Kate Bishop's. However, unfortunately, part of the Venom symbiote managed to cling onto the car on which Hawkeye and Dwight arrived, and soon tracked their location. The Venom-infected individuals attacked and took down several guards at the refuge until Hawkeye managed to lure them into the desert. He drove his car fast, and all of the Venom armies chased. Venom unbonded itself with the army to gain speed and stamina, and bonded with a single thug. Finally, Hawkeye drove them to the T-Rex that had been imported from the Savage Land, and the dinosaur screams disoriented Venom. Engaging the T-Rex and Venom, Hawkeye and Kate Bishop left the scene. Meanwhile, the hostility between Bullseye and Red Skull grew further after Bullseye defeated Red Skull's assassins, and now Taskmaster has been handed over with the duty of taking down Bullseye. We get a glimpse of the confinement holding Winter Soldier as he will be dispatched for his mission to take down Bullseye. On their way, Kate showed her disgust for Hawkeye as her sanctuary had been damaged owing to his careless nature of being trailed by the Venom symbiote, following which Hawkeye began narrating his story. Since the beginning of the series, two primary questions have appeared in everyone's mind. How were the superheroes betrayed? And secondly, how did Hawkeye survive? Hawkeye began narrating his story. 45 years ago, several teams of superheroes were dispatched to different parts of the globe to counter the combined terror of the supervillains. Hawkeye and Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, led a team of superheroes consisting of Thor, Scarlet Witch, Black Knight, War Machine, Falcon, and the Thunderbolts. Soon, Magneto arrived before them and destroyed their jet, making everyone fall out. War Machine soon grabbed Hawkeye, but there seemed to be something wrong as War Machine's arc reactor overloaded and ended up taking his life. However, there was zero time to mourn as soon several villains began attacking them. Scarlet Witch faced her father Magneto, who used his powers to impale her by pulling out metallic spikes from the ground beneath her. While Thor engaged in blasting lightning bolts at Magneto, the Absorbing Man absorbed Scarlet Witch's magic from her corpse. Soon, Magneto channeled the lightning's power into the Absorbing Man, who acquired the strength and pummeled Thor to death. Natasha suggested Hawkeye to fall back, but he insisted on charging them with whatever they had got. While the battle continued, Songbird and Mach 1 of the Thunderbolts attacked Falcon from behind and killed him. Atlas stabbed Black Knight and stepped over Quicksilver, killing both of them. Citizen 5 unmasked himself, and it was finally disclosed that the Thunderbolts had double-crossed them and allied with the villains. As Hawkeye and Black Widow remained in shock, Baron Zemo impaled Black Widow and killed her. The team of villains, along with the Thunderbolts, captured Hawkeye, and when he asked them to kill him, they replied coldly that they'd already killed the real superheroes. With this, Hawkeye completes narrating his story to Kate, and we finally learn why Hawkeye was after the Thunderbolts. All these years, he'd been waiting, and he would have waited for more if his glaucoma had not gotten worse. But now Hawkeye is determined to get his revenge on the Thunderbolts and Baron Zemo before going completely blind. After the last fight with the Kravinoff, Bullseye got himself and his enhancements repaired, following which he encountered the Taskmaster. They didn't fight, but Bullseye became aware of Red Skull's new move of dispatching Winter Soldier. At the Rock Spring power plant, we witness two scientists monitoring Winter Soldier's vitals, and soon they see a shadow of a man moving towards Winter Soldier. They soon realize that it was an ambush, as the man was not Bullseye, but a man with explosives tied to him. A massive explosion took place, but Winter Soldier survived. He grabbed Bullseye with his neck and strangled him before Bullseye stabbed him deep and managed to free himself. With the help of his enhancements, he managed to shoot Winter Soldier at his weak spots, who also fired repeated rounds on Bullseye. After a brief fight, Bullseye stabbed Winter Soldier with a trident and incapacitated him. The scientists back at the lab failed to comprehend what had just happened before the Winter Soldier had arrived at their base, shattering their glasses. Soon, Bullseye arrived and presumably killed them. Hawkeye and Kate Bishop arrived at the sanctuary of the Silent Sisterhood to finally take down Melissa Gold, aka Songbird. Upon reaching the sanctuary, Hawkeye met a broken-down Melissa who spoke to him, writing about how sorry she was for betraying him. Although she cried and hugged Hawkeye, he was prepared to kill her and avenge the death of his friends before Bullseye arrived. Hawkeye and Bullseye exchanged a few blows. Hawkeye stabbed one of his arrows into Bullseye's hands, and Bullseye managed to stab Hawkeye with his weapons. However, with Hawkeye's glaucoma, the victory was tilted more towards Bullseye. Still, Songbird soon arrived in her costume and screamed at Bullseye, throwing him out of the sanctuary through its window. Melissa revealed the location of the last of the Thunderbolts, Moonstone, and wished Hawkeye to take his revenge, and by then, Hawkeye decided to spare Songbird's life. However, Bullseye returned, and Melissa sacrificed her life to let Hawkeye and Kate escape. Hawkeye and Kate arrived at Moonstone's village in the middle of nowhere and found the last member of the Thunderbolts, Carla Sofin, aka Moonstone. She's been consumed by her hatred towards Baron Zemo, who ditched her regarding dividing territories. Her hatred also extended to Red Skull. She sought to kill Hawkeye and Kate to get Red Skull's attention. Moonstone was already old and withered and only grew weaker after using her powers. However, she didn't hold back and tried taking out Hawkeye before Hawkeye stabbed one of his arrows into her Moonstone, overloading it and killing her along with her followers. With Moonstone dead, Hawkeye is only left to deal with Baron Zemo, who had impaled his love, Natasha Romanoff. The scene shifts to the decommissioned Weapon X facility, where we get to see Dominikos Petrakis, aka the Avalanche, working alongside Baron Zemo in their Super Soldier Serum project. They'd been working on it for years and tested one of their newly created super soldier when Hawkeye arrived, leaving Kate outside the premises. Soon, the new super soldier charged at him, and Hawkeye could very well be seen struggling against it. Fortunately, Kate never followed Hawkeye's orders to remain outside and entered the base, incapacitating most guards. While the new super soldier got a grip of Hawkeye's neck and was about to snap it, Kate managed to switch off the lights and hand Hawkeye an injection. Hawkeye wasted no time taking the syringe and stabbing the soldier in the neck, followed by his head exploding. Zemo's project was over, and Kate predicted that soon the lab would be destroyed so that no scientist witnessing the project could leave alive. She insisted on saving the scientists, but Hawkeye mentioned that he was there only for one purpose: to end the life of Baron Zemo, who had orchestrated the deaths of his comrades. He found Zemo, but when he pulled his arrow to aim, he saw that there was nothing left of Zemo to fight, as he'd been living on external life support. Zemo's words did not grow weak, and he stated that all he'd done 45 years ago was to exact his revenge on Hawkeye for taking over his team, Thunderbolts. Soon, Hawkeye shoots Zemo with multiple arrows, eventually leading to his demise. The struggle at the lab was far from over, as Avalanche had made his way back and punched Hawkeye, while Bullseye had just arrived at the facility in search of Hawkeye. Avalanche used his powers to accelerate Hawkeye's glaucoma, rendering him completely blind. He began beating Hawkeye profusely before the blind archer got hold of an arrow and stabbed Avalanche's foot, and next through his mouth. With Kate Bishop's guidance, the two archers took down all the guards and safely escorted the scientist out of the facility. Unfortunately, Bullseye had been waiting all along and wasted no time in killing the rescued scientists. Kate fought him, but soon fell into his grasp with a razor-sharp playing card across her throat. Hawkeye had also left the premises with another scientist and a vial of super soldier serums. He planned on distracting Bullseye, who, with Kate in his grasp, found Hawkeye aiming in the wrong direction. He mocked the blind archer by correcting his direction towards him, but luckily when Hawkeye released his arrow, it straight away went through Bullseye's eye and killed him. Later, Hawkeye admitted that it aimed for the heart. Kate and Hawkeye drove off in their car with the super soldier serums, and just before entering the Hulkland, Kate wished Hawkeye luck and left for her sanctuary. We then get to see Old Man Hawkeye near Logan's homestead. However, the scene shifts to Hawkeye being captured by a group of men for crossing the Forbidden Path. This is a year after Hawkeye killed the Thunderbolts, Baron Zemo, and Bullseye, and we get to see the men bringing Hawkeye before their sensei. Hawkeye introduces himself as Clint Barton and requests the sensei to take him under his training. The sensei smiled and asked Clint not to be so formal, and his name was Matt. It was Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, who took up the alias Stick. 5 one-shot comic issues were released between December 2021 and February 2022, titled Wastelanders, which revolved around 5 different characters during the post-apocalyptic world of Earth 807128. The series beautifully carved out the events that followed these characters' pathways. One such was Old Man Hawkeye. The story revolved around Old Man Hawkeye's training with Stick, aka Daredevil, before he finally met Logan. Written by Ethan Sachs, the story opens at Goblin State Park, formerly known as Utah, deep within the wastelands. It's been 48 years since the fall of the heroes, with a few alive and struggling. The guy named Marco had been the plight of the villagers from whom he frequently looted gasoline. We see Hawkeye back on his feet, and he's arrived at Marco's den to take him down. While Hawkeye taunted, he was unaware that the Marco he'd been looking for was none other than Kane Marco, aka the Juggernaut. Luckily, Juggernaut had also grown old and had become slow. He was still an unstoppable force, but needed time to build momentum. Hawkeye kept shooting his arrows, followed by some explosive arrows, but there was not even a scratch on Juggernaut. Frustrated by the amount of time it took, Juggernaut lifted a tanker and threw it at Hawkeye. He missed Hawkeye by a narrow inch, which set the entire place on fire. While Hawkeye got knocked by the explosion, Juggernaut managed to build his momentum and reached for Hawkeye before Stick arrived. Stick advised Hawkeye about relying on his senses while simultaneously dodging Juggernaut's attacks. Infuriated, Juggernaut kept charging at Stick, uttering that he was unstoppable until Stick dodged him again before a cliff. Being unstoppable and old, Juggernaut couldn't decrease his momentum and eventually fell off the cliff. Stick stated that Juggernaut was invulnerable and the fall wouldn't have much of an impact on him. However, Stick added that owing to his enhanced hearing senses, he could hear the arthritis in Juggernaut's joints, and it would take years for him to climb up the cliff. This surely relieved the villagers from Juggernaut's terror, but the fight caused the entire village to burn in flames. Back at Matt Murdock's sanctuary, while Stick and Hawkeye meditated, Hawkeye wanted to speak. He stated that when he joined Matt's training, he had lost more than just vision. He had lost his life path, and thanked Matt for taking him in and training him to shoot arrows and fight without vision. Hawkeye concluded by stating that now he was ready to take down Red Skull and the other villains. He's been living a life of pain and humiliation. The loss of his friends and the fact that the villains considered him no threat have been degrading his life for years. However, after listening to all his reasons, Matt doesn't agree with Hawkeye and considers him unprepared to face the world. But after repeated requests, he set him up for his final test. If Hawkeye cleared the test, he would be considered ready for battle. Matt took Hawkeye on a helicopter and he set him for his target somewhere in the mountains. The job was to infiltrate the castle and find the target. Matt handed him a box and stated that the target could only be taken down by piercing the object in the box through the heart. Lastly, he stated that if Hawkeye lost his temper, he would die a horrible death, following which he pushed him off the helicopter. Instead of landing in disguise, Hawkeye mistimed pulling the ripcord and landed at the castle's front gate. Before Hawkeye could even think of entering in disguise, multiple armed ninjas appeared before him. However, after the training, Hawkeye had sharpened his skills to the next level as we see him taking down every ninja without his vision. He took them down in hand-to-hand combat, as well as with his archery skills, and finally reached his target. The target was none other than Elektra Natchios, aka Elektra. Elektra was a skilled fighter too, and she delivered a kick in Hawkeye's face, followed by throwing some shurikens at him. With no other option, Hawkeye opened the box to kill Elektra, but when he opened it, there was a beautiful flower bouquet. Soon, a hologram of Matt popped up, who stated that he never said it was a weapon. It was their anniversary, and Matt wanted to give Elektra the flowers. However, Matt added that the task was not just about delivering flowers to Elektra, but also a message for Clint. Matt never sought to train students to seek revenge, but to make a better future, to which Hawkeye added a quick retort stating that in that case, he'd failed. Hawkeye left on his own, while Matt stated it's a miracle how someone like Hawkeye survived so long. Hawkeye's journey further continued in the Old Man Logan story arc, spreading across Wolverine Volume 3, Issue 66 to Issue 71, describing the events after Old Man Hawkeye killed the Thunderbolt and exacted his revenge. It's been 50 years since Earth 807-128 lost all its defenders, and Hawkeye still can't find any peace from within. All this while Logan had been living with his family in Hulkland, where Hulk and his evil offspring extorted money from the citizens living in the area. So far, Logan has managed to maintain balance and keep his family safe from the wrath of the Hulks, but owing to his financial constraints, he's not been able to pay rent to Hulk. The Hulk gang, including Miss Banner, Otis Banner, and Charlie Banner, arrived at their location and taunted Logan by calling him Wolverine, the title he discarded long back. Logan had opted for a life of a pacifist after the heroes went down. He too had his sad reasons for which, even when Otis and Charlie beat him to a pulp, he denied retaliation. They continued beating him until his kid Scotty pointed his shotgun at them, to which they laughed and left. While leaving, they mentioned that the next month, Logan would have to pay double the amount of rent, or they'd kill everyone in his family. When Hawkeye arrived at his doorstep, Logan was recovering from the wounds. The blind ex-Avenger offered Logan to be his navigator while he traveled to the East Coast to deliver a package within 2 weeks in exchange for $500. The package contained the vials of super soldier serum, and Hawkeye kept it a secret. Had this been the Hawkeye 5 years before, he would have disclosed it to Logan, but the years of hardship and pain he received, mostly from trusting people, changed him. Throughout the entire Old Man Logan story arc, Hawkeye appears different and is often mistaken by Logan as a con. Getting back to the story, Logan denied Hawkeye's offer, but later had to accept it anyways, as if he failed to give money to the Hulk, his family would be dead. The next morning, Logan gave a heartfelt goodbye to his family and left on their journey in the Spider Buggy. Their destiny was to reach the President's Quarter in New Babylon, along west to extreme east through Hulkland, the kingdom of the Kingpin, and Doom's lair. Although Hawkeye hired Logan as a navigator, he wanted Wolverine to show up. He strongly believed that with Wolverine on his side, they could take down the villains, so he kept narrating all the events that happened in the past 50 years until Logan interrupted with confusion about the route. According to him, they were supposed to be in San Francisco, but they were mostly barren lands with remains of old buildings for miles. He doubted if the navigation system had been working, but Hawkeye assured him it was fine, and they were right in the middle of Union Square and facing the market streets. Hawkeye used the car's headlights and spotted mud-covered creatures staring at them. They were the Moloids, earthly creatures that have been rumored to be a response to the planet's immune system after the human population reached 8 billion. They pulled down buildings into the ground and slaughtered their inhabitants. They'd swallowed several cities in Asia and Europe, and presently were in America. The Moloids could see in the light, so Logan and Hawkeye were left unharmed. Hawkeye entered one of the buildings, but Logan hesitated, to which Hawkeye stated that he'd nothing to worry about with the Wolverine beside him. Logan responded reluctantly that he was no longer the Wolverine and his name was Logan. As the duo looked for survivors, a bunch of Ghost Riders appeared and attempted to steal their package. Logan tried stopping them, but he couldn't as they got hold of him. One of the Ghost Riders beat him viciously, but Logan refused to fight. An arrow went through the Ghost Rider's head in a split second. Hawkeye had located the rider by hearing his voice, and when the remaining Ghost Riders charged, Hawkeye killed each and every one of them by just hearing them. Disgusted by Logan's extreme pacifism and curious about why the once lethal superhero wouldn't attack, he asked Logan what they'd done to him, to which he replied that he'd been completely broken mentally. They reached Las Vegas, which was then known as Hammer Hill and ruled by Kingpin. It was one of the most popular places on the planet, where the citizens often gathered and prayed for the superheroes to return. After the death of Thor, Mjolnir landed there, and the place was considered sacred. While the two strolled across the place, they met Ultron 8, who asked Hawkeye if he'd received Tanya's message. The message was about Ashley, who had previously formed a super team and tried taking down Kingpin, for which she'd been captured and will soon be executed. While Hawkeye agreed to save his daughter, Logan was hesitant to be a part of it. He accompanied Hawkeye in his venture only for the money he'd offered and didn't want anything that could trouble him or his family later. However, he later agrees to drive Hawkeye to save his daughter when he promises him double payment. They traveled to Salt Lake City, where most residents were attending the execution of Ashley's cohorts, Punisher and Daredevil, in the Rice-Eccles Stadium. While Punisher and Daredevil were eaten alive by the dinosaurs in front of a huge cheering crowd, Hawkeye made plans to crash the spider buggy where Ashley was held captive. They managed to rescue Ashley, who, to everyone's surprise, killed Kingpin and declared herself the land's new ruler. To prove her strength and ferocity, she turned to Hawkeye and was almost about to kill him when Logan in the spider buggy managed to save him and escape. However, it was far from being over as Ashley, aka Spider-Girl, ordered her men to go after them, and soon Logan and Hawkeye were chased by at least 50 cars and even some raptors. Fortunately, just before they could catch the two, the ground collapsed, swallowing the entire place. The Moloids soon devoured everyone except Logan and Hawkeye, who managed to climb out of the chasm with the help of the spider buggy. They passed through Pastepot Creek, Wyoming, which was then the home of the imported dinosaurs, Electroville, and through South Dakota, where Mount Rushmore had the face of the new President of the United States carved out. As they traveled, we got a glimpse of the Venom symbiote that Hawkeye had previously left in the deserts. They reached Iowa and stopped for a drink in a bar where Logan confessed that the old version of him, Wolverine, was dead, and presently he only cared about his family. He got triggered by one of the bartender's jokes and stormed out of the place, where Hawkeye begged him to share his side of the pain, or what happened the night before the heroes fell. After a brief silence, Logan began narrating his sad story. That night, there were numerous distress calls in the X-Mansion, from the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Fantastic Four, Wakanda, before an explosion in the mansion took place, killing Jubilee. Soon, Absorbing Man, Blob, Bullseye, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, Claw, Lady Deathstrike, Mr. Hyde, Mr. Sinister, Omega Red, Sabretooth, Scorpion, along with Shocker, Silver Samurai, Strife, and Titanium Man emerged and attacked Wolverine altogether. Wolverine fought them and killed every last one of them, but only to realize that it was one of Mysterio's tricks that made him kill all of his teammates. All this while Mysterio not only tampered with the visuals but also his smell, as Wolverine couldn't even recognize his friends. He turned around and saw that he had killed Beast, Cannonball, Colossus, Cyclops, Forge, Gambit, Havoc, Iceman, Jubilee, Longshot, Nightcrawler, Polaris, Psylocke, and Storm. This was enough to break him down, as unlike the other superheroes, his friends were killed by him. Driven with guilt and pain, Wolverine left sobbing and crying through the forest, where the animals ran away from him. Although he would not die that easily, he lay down in front of a freight train as a form of penance. With this, Logan concluded his story and stated this was why he chose to die rather than hurt any soul. The journey continues, and they cross Dwight's toll the next day. The little kid left at the sanctuary of Kate Bishop had become a toll keeper. He used the Ant-Man's helmet to signal ants and devour passers-by who refused to pay the toll. After paying the toll, when the two reached Illinois, they found themselves being chased by a venomized T-Rex. Fortunately, they were being watched by Emma Frost, who sent Black Bolt to their rescue. With his sonic blasts, Black Bolt eradicated the T-Rex and the Venom symbiote, and he teleported them to the mutant Forbidden Quarter together with Hawkeye and Logan. Logan was shocked to see Emma Frost alive and young, to which Emma told them that she was presently the most powerful psychic alive, and even the place they were in was a visual implanted in their minds by her. She was also aware of what Hawkeye was carrying in the package, but promised to be quiet about it. The team repaired the spider buggy for them, and Logan and Hawkeye left for New Babylon. They reached New Babylon, and Hawkeye met a man called Tobias, who had promised to create a new team of superheroes with the help of the Super Soldier Serum. Hawkeye was finally seen contented after delivering the package, and he also added that he would want to be in the team of superheroes. Unbeknownst to Hawkeye, Tobias had been working for Red Skull all along. He'd crafted the entire plot of creating superheroes just to lure Hawkeye, and when the package was delivered, he killed Hawkeye ruthlessly by shooting from point-blank range. His men also shot several rounds at Logan. Still, they were unaware that this associate of Hawkeye was not any mere human, but the Wolverine with a magical regenerative healing factor. Later, Logan decimated each and every one of them along with Red Skull. He even obtained the money that had to be paid to the Hulk gang, but when he reached it, it was too late as the sons of Hulk killed his family. Logan went for his revenge, while Old Man Hawkeye had a grim end to his painful life. Marvelous verdict. Old Man Hawkeye's story is one of the most touching stories. All his friends were killed, along with his lover, Natasha Romanoff, and the burden of being unable to save or avenge them has taken away everything from him. Moreover, he'd been spared by the villains who considered him of no threat, which added to the humiliation. He trusted the Thunderbolts, which backfired as they betrayed the Avengers and even killed them. All this was too much for Hawkeye to process in even 50 years. He managed to kill the Thunderbolts under disabled Baron Zemo, but even that didn't give him solace. This showcased Hawkeye's stubborn hopes of getting the world back to order. While most of the remaining heroes gave up their hopes and tried living with whatever was left, Hawkeye relentlessly attempted to change the world. He tried everything he could, from fighting without vision to negotiating with Tobias to build a new team of superheroes to defeat the villains, but unfortunately failed. He failed because he trusted Tobias, which signifies that one of the significant flaws of Hawkeye was his unverified reliance on trust. With this, we finally come to the end of this video, and we hope it was entertaining and informative. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.